Have you ever had this problem in your startup? You set new goals with your team, you're all happy at the end of the offsite, and as soon as you get back to the office, nothing happens. Let's fix that. At Midstage Institute, we find that companies are okay setting their priorities, but then as soon as they come out of their workshop, their offsite, they have these priorities all settled, and then often nothing happens. This is why we've developed this quarterly ROC execution tool to really help people think through all the parts that they need to focus on and then to really hit the ground with execution. Hello, I am Roland Sieveling and I'm the founder and CEO of Midstage Institute. We help tech companies get right on track towards their unicorn status, living the geek way, and being superb as a tech company. Now, we've made available Midstage Startup Tools, which is a Miro board with ever added new tools on it. And the first one we want to share here today is this very tool, Quarterly ROC, Preparing for Successful Execution. Now, many of you may call these OKRs or quarterly goals. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have a number of goals, typically up to 5, that you set together with the executive team. And then you assign them to people, and then you hope that they all get executed. Often that doesn't happen automatically, so we've decided to build a tool to help people through that process. Here's how it works. First of all, really name the ROC or the quarterly OKR with what the real purpose is. Like, what do you want to actually achieve with it? So naming often underestimated, but it's actually really important to have a succinct name of your ROC that defines clearly what you want to reach. And often that's like the deliverable, for example, double sales, or it could be launch V2 of product. It could also be, double hiring pipeline. And I like to actually recommend that people have a quite inspiring quarterly ROC name so that it's less about the key result that you get to, but more about what's the bigger goal that you're trying to reach there, the objective in OKR parlance, if you will. Now, in larger organizations, we typically have a differentiation between the executive that sponsors it and the team that executes it. And we like to make that explicit. If you're a small organization, you can just skip this. But if you're slightly larger, we encourage executives to put themselves in the sponsoring position, which really means keeping an eye on things, but not trying to execute it all by themselves. And that's what this is for. So let's just say the sponsoring strategy council member would be the CMO. Let's call her Daisy Ross, right? And then the team members would be different people of different departments. Typically, there would be somebody in that same department that the sponsor has that would be leading it, right? And that would be also probably also marketing in this case. And their job would be to be the project lead and so forth. And so we can add other people in there that have different roles on that project. Now, the key thing that you need to agree to with either the sponsor or with the executive team at large is like, what is actually the deliverable? Now here, the overall deliverable is kind of like a doubling down on what you have here in number 1. So the overall deliverable would actually be where you make clear when is this ROC done. So of course, there is a date set at the end of the quarter by which you should have the ROC done. But what is the ideal scope that could get delivered? What is the acceptable scope, I might even say, that gets delivered? And so in this case, it could be considered as ROC done when recruitee pipeline is 100 candidates. So not just doubling it, but actually saying, well, what does this mean? What is the number that we are trying to get to here, right? On the right side, we get into a little bit more detail then. So what we want to see explicitly mentioned is also the requirements, which is typically things like budget, time for people, maybe some investments in software, or sometimes even external resources that the sponsor would need to agree on, which is what are some of the requirements for this ROC to succeed? Now, every executive always wants people to just go with the project without asking for any resources. If you can, that's so much better, of course, but but in some cases you will need to flag to your executive, to your sponsor, well, if you actually want this done, we will need something for you to give us. And that could be budget, it could be time, it could be resources such as, new software or tools or training, or even external help in some cases. So here you can just fill out, 20% time for projects. Members need new applicant tracking system, something like that, right? And then you can go into assuming that you get those resources, or you can negotiate with the sponsor about how many resources you need. Then we can actually turn these into overall deliverables. Then the sixth box is about the milestones or the sub-project. Milestones are more like, if it's like a Q1 project, then can we break it down in what you want to have done by end of January, end of February, and end of March. And I really like that approach because it gives us early indications when a project is off track. So in this particular case, it could be something like new ATS purchased. And then in February, you might say something like ATS installed, marketing campaigns launched, let's do it like this, and so forth. And then at the end of March, of course, you would want to see 100 extra candidates in pipeline. Okay, and let's just quickly put the dates in there as well. So something like this. And sorry about it's so messy, but actually this is not meant for ideal formatting yet, right? So something like this. And if you see this video a little bit later, of course, this will still apply even if you have a different quarter or a different year in which you launch this, but you get the drift. Cool. And let's put that here. There's a box for risks you may want to flag. Now, risks, some people do not actually like to think about risks, but I think it's a good idea to at least flag those things that you think your sponsors or the other people on the leadership team might not be aware of. For example, it could be that new ATS implementation will slow down. That's one example. Typically, I'd want you to put 2 or 3. What is the highest level of risk? So it's not just putting a big laundry list. We've made on purpose a very small box. The point here is that you flag the most important ones, right? And that is a prioritization exercise that you can do with the cross-functional team as well. So now, next steps to hit the ground running. This is maybe almost the most important part. As you get a better idea of what the whole project looks like, now start actually defining first, second, and third steps. So, what is the first one? Probably something like first team meeting with project members. You will put a date, of course, you get that drift. Then there's probably a drawing up of the short list of the ATSs in this case, right? Short lists drawn up, and who does it and by when, and so forth and so forth. So this is our preparing for successful execution quarterly rock tool. We often do this right in the offsite workshops with the leadership team that we have on site at that time. But if you don't have those workshops or you want to do this by yourself, then feel free to go at our Miro board and use this tool and make sure that you actually launch your rock for successful execution. I'm Roland Siebelink. I'm the founder and CEO of Midstage Institute, and we help fast-growing startups get back on the right track towards product market dominance and hence unicorn status. Be in touch for any questions or if you need any help. Thank you.